A message of terror.
Mamluks, heed the words of the great Khan, Hulagu. Submit or perish. Your Sultan's reign is forfeit. Your reign ends now. Surrender or be destroyed.
They carried an ultimatum of annihilation.
La mayoría de los gobernantes se habían rendido a este terror psicológico.
But Sultan Qutuz was not like most rulers.
The envoys were executed, their heads mounted on the gates.
This was the point of no return.
Esto no era solo política. Para el sultán, esto era venganza personal.
Era Saif al-Din Qutuz, el perro vicioso.
Un nombre que le dieron los mongoles que lo capturaron de niño.
Era Mahmud ibn Mamdud, un príncipe corasmio.
He took the throne of Egypt with a single purpose.
Liderar la búsqueda de una generación para saldar una deuda de sangre.
His destiny was to face the monsters of his past.
El monstruo ya estaba a las puertas.
El imperio mongol era una fuerza apocalíptica. Destruyó la fortaleza de los asesinos en Alamut.
Then, in 1258, he stood before Baghdad.
La ciudad fue aniquilada.
The Caliph was executed.
Fue el fin de la Edad de Oro islámica. Este sacrilegio enfureció al propio primo de Hulagu, Berke Khan. Un musulmán devoto, su furia plantó la semilla de la guerra civil.
The citadel is ours! Raise the banners high! Burn the city! Take everything you find!
The tide had arrived at the gates of Egypt, the last Muslim power in its path.
Debes convertirte en un mejor guerrero de la estepa.
Este era el principio fundamental del sultanato mameluco.
Ven. El Estado no era un reino, era un ejército.
Here, Khushdash. Eat well.
Thank you. May we always share our bread.
They endured the Furusiyya, a brutal and sophisticated training.
They were a hybrid force, the perfect counterattack to the Mongols.
But this was refined by the resources of a wealthy state.
Llevaban cota de malla y armadura lamelar más pesadas. Montaban caballos de guerra árabes más grandes, alimentados con grano. Su arsenal era diverso.
Lances for the shock charge, and curved sabers for the melee.
If you light the powder here, the force expels the projectile.
And you are certain this crude tube will not explode in my hand?
It is strong, Emir.
Ruidoso, aterrador y capaz de asustar a los caballos mongoles.
Not to kill, but to create a thunderous noise.
A sound designed to terrify the unaccustomed horses of the Mongols.
Pero se estaban preparando para luchar contra el gran ejército de Hulagu.
An unstoppable force that had crushed kingdoms. Then, thousands of miles away, history took a turn.
He left behind a mere garrison to finish the conquest.
Esta fue la ventana de oportunidad crítica e inesperada.
Kutuz no se enfrentaría a la horda mongola principal.
Se enfrentaría a su fuerza de ocupación de élite, pero más pequeña.
This is where we break them. Send word to Hulagu the path is secure. We march for Damascus.
Pero quedaba un obstáculo: el reino cruzado de Acre. Un ejército franco hostil a su espalda sería fatal.
Kutuz, the warrior, proved to be a master diplomat. He proposed a truce, appealing to the Franks' own terror.
Incluso les permitieron reabastecerse cerca de Acre.
Ain Jalut, the Fountain of Goliath. The arid landscape of the Levant held a secret that night.
La trampa estaba tendida.
Baibars lideró la vanguardia mameluca hacia la llanura.
Durante horas, hostigó a las fuerzas de Kitbuqa.
Then he gave the signal. Keep moving. Do not break rank. They are almost upon us. Karga.
The overly confident Kitbuqa took the bait.
Charge forward! Do not let them escape! Faster!
In that moment, the main Mamluk army emerged from three sides, and the trap closed.
But the Mongols were elite. The Mamluk left flank began to give way.
Into the flank, now! Charge! Destroy them all! We are broken! Retreat! Ride faster!
The myth was broken. Ain Jalut proved they were men who could be defeated.
La marea mongola fue detenida permanentemente.
La batalla salvó a Egipto y redibuló el mapa.
El sultanato mameluco era ahora el campeón indiscutible del Islam.
El Cairo se convirtió en el nuevo centro de prestigio y poder.
Standing alone on the ramparts of Acre, the knight understood. The Crusades were not just the Crusaders, whose truce had allowed the Mamluk victory.
But the architect of victory would not live to see it.
On the journey home, Sultan Qutuz was assassinated.
The assassin was the hero of the battle, Baybars.
A leader driven by a lifetime of personal revenge.
The strategy was a masterpiece of timing. As the Mongols pressed forward, the Mamluk jaws swept inward.
A perfect trap that inverted the enemy's own tactics. In this fleeting moment, before gravity reasserts itself, the capricious hand of La Fortuna hangs heavy over the medieval gambler.
Una crisis geopolítica que retiró al ejército enemigo principal.
And finally, the fracture. The enemy's own self-destruction. The Berke-Hulagu War, triggered by the battle, was the checkmate that made the victory permanent.
The Mongols did the rest.